Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. This is a really long video. We have a lot to cover in here. There's a lot of Harry, Meghan stuff and royal family stuff. Some of this stuff you're just not going to believe. I had to put it all in, as you can see from the picture above. A big thank you to that one for the photo. Let's get busy. Let's go. We're going to start off with the Duchess of Gloucester. Remember I told you on the 2nd she visited the Ernest Wright traditional scissors and shears. Well, you know how I am. More pictures came out, so of course I have to show them to you. And it was part of her official visit to Sheffield, which celebrated the world city's renowned tradition of craftsmanship. There's absolutely no way I could not show you these photos after they came out. Doesn't she look lovely? Then some pictures came out on the same day, the same visit to Sheffield, of the Duchess of Gloucester visiting the Crucible Theatre for a performance by Music in the Round. Again, I told you about this, but more pictures came out and I had to show them to you. Next up, we have the fabulous Duke of Gloucester, who visited the Reigate Grammar School in Reigate on September 30th. Again, I know this took place about 6 days ago, but we just found out about it. Remember, the royal family holds these so that people don't overlap, but I love seeing him out and about as well. We're going to move on now to the Duchess of Edinburgh, who visited the Democratic Republic of Congo at the request of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. One of the first things that she did was meet women peace builders working at the grassroots level to highlight their work supporting local peace initiatives, and she witnessed the impact of the ongoing conflict. She traveled to Beni in the province of North Kivu. She met the women who are the peacekeepers in the area. She met UN peacekeeper blue helmets from around the world, including the UK, at their jungle training facility to hear about their role in protecting civilians and support stabilization. She also visited the cafe you're looking at above. It's part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and she heard here about how the park provides jobs and champions women's leadership, generates clean energy, and protects this biodiverse landscape and the communities who live there. By the way, the park is now the largest employer in the province of North Kivu. Now, also there, she went to the General Hospital, where she met clinicians providing UK-funded sexual and reproductive health services. While still in Beni, Sophie met women and girls affected by the conflict and displacement at a UK-supported women's safe space, an initiative in Beni which helps with psychosocial support and livelihood training. With this training, they hope to support their families in the future. You know, when I look at this, and I know I probably shouldn't throw it into this section, but when I look at the women learning how to weave to make baskets, I can't help but think of those poor women from Cesta Collective. Just terrible. After that, Sophie traveled to the capital, where she was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Teresa Wagner, and she later met the President of DRC, His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi. Now, she returned to the newly expanded Pansy Clinic while she was there, once again meeting Nobel Peace Prize laureate Dr. Denis Mukwege. I hope I'm saying that right. He's renowned for his work supporting survivors of conflict-related sexual violence. Now, this clinic is a one-stop center that provides survivors of this kind of violence with holistic care. You have medical, psychosocial, legal, and socioeconomic support. So while at the clinic, Sophie listened to some testimonies from survivors who shared their experiences and details of the support they received, and she also met team members from Swansea University working on the collaborative initiative between the university, the hospital, and Scar Free Foundation, of which Sophie is the patron. And this initiative gives mutual expertise for the reconstruction and care of these survivors. On the final day of Sophie's visit, she traveled to Kitambo General Hospital in Kinshasa alongside the first woman prime minister of DRC, Judith Suminwa, and the Minister for Health, Dr. Samuel Roger Kamba Mulamba. And she met patients, clinicians, and members of civil society to better understand what measures are being put in place to strengthen the national health system there. Now, one other thing that she did, Sophie visited a safe house that supports survivors of a mass rape that took place during a mass escape attempt from a central prison in September of 2024. Hundreds of women detainees were assaulted by thousands of men. I just can't even. Oh, at the safe house, Sophie met survivors and heard firsthand accounts of the trauma they endured and the challenges they continue to face, including injuries, rejection by their families. I can't fathom that, and lack of income. The safe house provides survivors with psychosocial care, protection services, and socioeconomic support to aid their recovery and reintegration into society. As usual, I think Sophie did an absolutely fabulous, fabulous job. I'm very proud of her. She looks fabulous. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us all the outfits. Let's move on. Let's move on now to Sophie's fabulous husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. A few days ago, he was at Cambridge to see the women's art collection, which they're saying is one of the most significant contemporary collections in the world. He was also at the Cambridge Tennis Club. Now, remember I told you guys that mainstream media sees us and copies us? Well, guess what? They finally have put up an article talking about the fact that everybody in the royal family was wearing gray. Wonder which, YouTuber they got that from. Now, I couldn't help but notice somebody else who got in on the gray, and that was Victoria Beckham in Paris at the fashion show. I wonder where she got that idea from. Looking good. Let's move on. Next up, you guys remember that townhome that Sarah bought for an investment for $4.25 million in cash, but it was rented out. She never, lived in it. Well, she apparently sold it for $3.85 million. So as an investment, she failed. She lost £400,000. Now, Natalie Dormer, I loved her in The Tudors. Natalie Dormer came out and said she's so disgusted about that email. She's donating her entire salary. The money, by the way, is money she made playing Sarah Ferguson in an upcoming television drama. Let's keep going. Let's move on to Prince William. We know that the episode of The Reluctant Traveler with Eugene Levy on Apple TV came out. It premiered on October 3rd. William said a lot of things that nobody had ever heard. It was really something to listen to his comments. Here's a little snippet for you guys to listen to. Listen to this.
Catherine is in remission now.
Yes.
Yes,
is, yeah.
which is wonderful.
It was great news, exactly.
How did that affect the children, if I may ask?
Everyone has their own coping mechanisms for these sorts of things, and children are constantly learning and adapting. We try to make sure we give them the security and the safety that they need. And we're a very open family, so we talk about things that bother us and things that trouble us. But you never quite know the knock-on effects it can have.
Are you optimistic?
I am optimistic. I'm generally a very optimistic person, especially when I'm with someone like you, Eugene. Life is sent to test us as well, and it definitely can be challenging at times. And being able to overcome that is what makes us who we are. I'm so proud of my wife and my father for how they've handled all of last year. My children have managed brilliantly as well.
Well, I'm hoping every other prince I run into is as nice, open, and human.
Prince William even delved into what happened with his parents. That kind of shocked me. Listen to this.
Workday would be what? Would you call it a 9 to 5?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Doesn't quite work like that. But I do try and stick to school timetables as best as possible. So most days we're in and out of school doing pickups and drop-offs. Getting the balance of work and family life right is really important, because for me, the most important thing in my life is family, and everything is about the future and about if you don't start the children off now with a happy, healthy, stable home, I feel you're setting them up for a bit of a hard time and a fall. So it's about making sure that we can look after our families and look after our children in a way that we feel is best for their future.
That importance of kind of having a relatively normal home life, I think, started with you and your mother as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important that that atmosphere is created at home. You have to have that warmth, that feeling of safety, security, love. That all has to be there. And that was certainly part of my childhood. I mean, my parents got divorced at 8, so, that lasted a short period of time. But you take that and you learn from it, and you try and make sure you don't do the same mistakes as your parents. I think we all try and do that. I just want to do what's best for my children, but I know that the drama and the stress when you're small really affects you when you're older.
Now, with that, the press jumped all over it. Prince William's damning comments about his father upset King Charles. There were no damning comments, and I sincerely doubt King Charles was upset. Then William said something else. I want you guys to listen to this.
If history doesn't overwhelm you, is there anything that does?
Yeah, I think stuff to do with family overwhelms me quite a bit. You know, worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit. But in terms of, you know, doing the job and things like that, I don't feel too overwhelmed by that. Not now anyway. When I was younger, yeah, there are bits that overwhelm you, a bit like, whoa, are we actually doing this? Is this sort of happening? But with time and age, I think you feel a bit more settled in that side of things, and you go, actually, I could do that. And even if a few curveballs come in, that doesn't necessarily overwhelm me. When it's to do with family and things like that, then that's where I start getting a bit overwhelmed, as I think most people would.
For those of you who haven't seen this show, you need to figure out a way to see it. Maybe you can get it on YouTube. But he talks about his relationship with his grandparents. He talks about a lot of things. Now, let me tell you, somebody had an absolute meltdown, and that would be Chris Shipp. He had an absolute cow because William didn't talk to him. Well, why would William talk to him? Now, to start with, you should know that Chris Shipp interviewed Eugene Levy to ask him about the interview. So he interviewed the interviewer about the interviewee. He said things like, did William get drunk? Do Canadians want William as their future king? I mean, Chris Shipp was absolutely imploding. Snarky questions. I'm going to let you listen to this for yourself, okay? Listen to this.
This season is called Bucket List. I think there was a conversation you had with him about getting drunk. Did you actually get drunk? Just had the pint, yeah?
We just had a pint. We had a.
Although I noticed your Guinness didn't go down very far.
It didn't go down very far. Well, because I'm not going to be guzzling my beer while he's getting into some unbelievably interesting conversation. But it shows you what a sense of humor he actually had when he came out with that in the trailer, I believe, for the show. Yeah. When he said was getting drunk with Prince William on your bucket list, and I thought, wow, that's this guy has a great sense of humor.
And would you say, as he asked you, it was the bucket of all the things you did in all parts of the world? And the series looks amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the bucket?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, who am I? I mean,
You're Eugene Levy.
Yes, I'm. Oh, thank you. I actually forgot there for a second.
There you go.
Yes. But, I mean, this was a conversation and a day that I never, ever, you would never dream you could ever have a day like this. And the fact is that he did feel comfortable enough with me, and perhaps, was a big fan of this travel show or of me. I don't know, but there had to be a reason that he said, you know what, this is something I'd like to do, and committed to do it, and was wide open about what we could talk about.
Now, we spoke just now about you being Canadian, and I think you said in the show that you used to sort of go to school and sing songs about the late Queen.
Yes.
In the sense that Prince William said he wanted to be a different kind of monarch, I just wonder whether, having met him, got inside his head a little bit, do you think it's time to sort of change those kind of historic relationships, like with your home country? Should you still have a king who lives in London as your head of state?
Well, listen, it's we did get our own flag in 1967. Yep. Canada is an independent country, and I think a lot of the country loves the fact that we still have ties.
But you've not just met a future king, you've met the future king of Canada. And I'm just wondering whether you're happy that your future head of state is going to be Prince William, or would you rather have a Canadian doing that job?
I don't mind that at all. And of all the people, I mean, having met Prince William, I mean, I would say, yes, this is, I'm quite proud of the fact that this man will be the head of state for the country, no question about it.
One very quick question before to wrap up. Were you ever told you couldn't ask questions, for example, about Harry and Meghan? Did you find that was just something you just didn't want to go near?
I was not told that I couldn't ask anything, but it wasn't really, up to me to get into that. I had no interest in asking him about that because it was, very delicate issue, and certainly not up to me to get into it. I think there were other things that I could lead the conversation to that might be interesting for him, and interesting for the for the world to hear. But that was something I wasn't necessarily interested in getting into.
Good on Eugene Levy for his answers. They were fabulous. Now, Chris Shipp can't figure out that after he harassed Catherine, he was one of the ones who piled on for that stupid Photoshop thing. And then he's got pictures taken of him with the Sussex Squad. He appears to be upset that he wasn't invited to be the interviewee. What an idiot. All right, next up, Sentebale released its annual trustees report and accounts that cover a 16-month period from September 1st, 2023 to December 31st of 2024. And actually, it looks like Sentebale is doing really well without Harry around. They actually retained 100% of their institutional funders cultivated by the African-based team. Over 70% of their funding goals for 2026 are now in place. Now, one of the biggest things that Sentebale did was they dropped the polo matches now that Harry's not around. Apparently, the polo club raised 18% of the funds last year, but a report into the charity's accounts, which was again published on Friday, revealed that sport has now been ditched as its flagship fundraiser because of the high cost and issues related to the events themselves. I mean, wow, it looks like this Dr. Chanduka has really done some good work here with the finances. And now without Harry popping up to grab credit for running around on a horse, and now they've been able to retain their funders and they've already secured almost all their funding for the next year. Looks like it's doing very well without Harry. Go figure. Let's move on now to Meghan Markle. First of all, she put up this ridiculous post. I think she's desperate for content. You know that song, Let Me Tell You About the Birds and the Bees and the Flowers and the Trees? She put that up. Like nobody would recognize that what she put up is from a song from a while ago. She's hawking her stuff again. Look, we're back. Only $12. Massively overpriced. We're back and we brought a friend. And of course, she puts up this ridiculous video showing her sticking greenery in before a picture is taken. And then it shows her pouring a glass of wine. Now, we're going to get into the whole wine thing in just a minute, but something else came up first that I think is very important to talk about. And that is the fact that Meghan is really trying to project that she's the one making this stuff in her house. So I looked over this picture very carefully. Here's the first thing I noticed. She's trying to copy Catherine. You see the easy bun at the back of her head? You guys remember when Catherine tied up her hair without a rubber band and it made the internet go absolutely crazy when she was on that event where she did the screen printing? So Meghan tried to copy her hair. Then I go back and I look again and I'm like, wait. The bottles. That's right. She has multiple sized bottles of jam to grab your interest. What does that remind you of? The Beckhams. David Beckham came out with his plum jam and he showed everything from the tiniest of jars to larger jars. So I feel like once again, she was copycatting the Beckhams. Then Miss Attention to Detail made a bad mistake. You see how she's holding that jar lifter? Well, thank you to this person on Twitter, who was the very first person to put this up. As far as I can tell, she's holding it upside down. The colored part is the part that's supposed to be around the jar, not the metal part. So Meghan, Miss Attention to Detail, didn't even notice that she was holding the damn thing upside down. One other thing, you know she doesn't like to take the tags off because these clothes are on loan. You see that around the belt loop? She just tucked the tag in. Unbelievable. All right, next up, we have the wine. That it's a new one that's come out. A big thank you to Royal News Network, who happened to notice that while the bottle says the vintage is 2024, the cork next to it says 2023. That's more of that attention to detail. And by the way, this is another one of those bottles that she just slapped her label on, because people noted when you turn the bottle around and you look, this wine came from New Zealand. It was sent in from New Zealand. All right, let's move on. All right, the next thing I just had to point out, you guys remember that when Jane Goodall died, Harry and Meghan paid tribute to her by saying she held our son Archie when he was first born and showered love, etc., etc., and put up personal photos showing Harry with her at one event, which is where they met. Well, a big thank you to this Twitter user for finding this. Jane Goodall stated in 2020 in an interview with People magazine she was not best friends with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. She'd only met them a few times, and she dismissed rumors of their closeness as stupid. She said the three had only met a maximum of 3 times, and their relationship was not one of close friendship. All right, next up, I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this. Kensington Palace issued a statement on October 2nd from Prince William and Princess Catherine because there was a deadly terrorist attack at a synagogue in Manchester, which took place on Yom Kippur, which is one of the holiest days of the Jewish calendar. 2 people were killed, multiple others injured, and that statement followed a statement from King Charles, and that came alongside an emergency response from political leaders, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who said he was going to put additional police patrols. However, Jewish leaders are slamming Starmer, saying this attack was inevitable. The truth is, the UK has failed to address the rising anti-Semitism that's going on. It decided to recognize a Palestinian state, which a lot of people saw as a reward for violence. It's disgusting. And so what does this guy do to try to, calm everybody? Well, first he made a statement promising to do everything in his power to protect the Jewish people, which is something he hasn't done up until then. Then he decides to go to synagogue with his wife and Yvette Cooper. Sorry, that's like putting a Band-Aid on a visor. I mean, my goodness, what a waste of time. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys, you know what I want. Put those comments down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel with great recipes, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.